Congress, my fellow Americans, Wednesday's Senate floor session was an unprecedented event in American history. Never has the country witnessed more disrespect to the democratic procedures of our legislative body and utter disregard to the American people than what was shown by the Republican members of the Senate. By purposely silencing the voices of the Democratic peers in order to pass a massive amount of mostly conservative legislation, the Senate Republicans have exemplified a lack of integrity. And to what end? To place pressure on me to utilize my constitutional power to veto most of this legislation that is resting upon my desk? In this time, where our country faces issues such as mass shootings, climate change, domestic terrorism on black bodies and women's reproductive rights, climate change, the continuous oppression of members of our LGBTQ community, food deserts, homelessness, poor infrastructure, a failed school system, and poverty. The egotistical behavior of this Senate as a result of party polarization is an assault to the American people who elected them. For this reason, I will be vetoing the ridiculous bills passed on Wednesday, which include Senate Bill 81, the Criminal Alien Deportation Act, Senate Bill 5, the Right to Work Act, Senate Bill 87, the American Security Against Foreign Enemies Act, Senate Bill 1, the Concealed Carry Act, Senate Bill 18, the Innocent Lives Matter Act, Senate Bill 16, the Department of Homeland Security Reform Act, Senate Bill 45, the United States Jordan Improvement Defense Cooperation Act, Senate Bill 49, the Federal Lands Privatization Act, and Senate Bill 89. Senate floor session for that day. The failure to present me with a firm bipartisan budget will just be a further testimony of the absence of responsibility existing within this Senate. Thank you, and God bless America.
The resolution. Is it leader time? If you want to speak, you can speak when it's your time. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sure we will have continued support of every Democrat on this resolution, so we can continue to serve who elected us here. We will not defund the veterans. We will not defund Medicare. We will not shut down this government. That's a priority for the Republican Party, and I'm sure it's a priority for the Democratic Party. I hope that we can conclude this session productively, and we can move on our way. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Schumer for Minority Report time.
Wednesday was a historic day for the United States Senate. And by historic, I mean that the sacred rules that govern this body have been negatively altered forever. No longer can the American people feel assured that when their voice is in the minority, they will be heard and given the opportunity to weigh in on important legislation that affects every American. The filibuster has been practiced since the 19th century to ensure that minority voices may not be silenced, a principle that this great nation was founded on. What happened on Wednesday is called the nuclear option, and the Senate has considered it many times before. However, in the past, senators have come together time and time again to preserve the filibuster.
Republicans, please take conversations outside, please.
Filibuster for all legislation and nominations to the Supreme Court. Making laws is not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be a careful process where all voices are heard, compromises are made, and legislation is not rammed through Congress and into the homes of Americans nationwide. Although the filibuster can be seen as somewhat of a nuisance, being unable to predict whether your voice will be in the minority or the majority after the election cycle every 2 years has led everyone from members of Congress to the citizens of America to hold on to the filibuster practice in order to ensure that they will be able to demand their voice be heard if and when the time comes that the power to speak is not automatically given. Due to the recklessness and contempt of Senate Republicans, the filibuster is dead. which sets a terrible precedent for when they are inevitably in the minority at some point in the future. Tyranny of the majority is now rule of law.
Republicans, please take conversations outside.
And that should make each and every Republican senator hang their head in shame. I am devastated by the events that unfolded on Wednesday, where Republicans went back on deals and negotiations that had been made between the two parties to ensure a fair budget deal for all, and passed the extreme Republican budget in its entirety, refusing to allow any Democrats the opportunity to even object. I hope the American people will understand that the president cannot sign a budget that emerged from Wednesday's Senate session, as it would have disastrous effects on the health care of millions, destabilize financial markets, and destroy the safety net that has been created for those Americans who are struggling to get by. We look forward to coming back to the table, now that the Republicans have gotten this maneuver out of their system, to find a way to fund the government without disrespecting this body and the people of this country. I'd also like to reiterate the president's press conference that just occurred. In October of this year, the president made it clear that he would no longer be willing to sign any temporary continuing resolutions to fund the government. December 7th is the deadline for the Senate to pass a bipartisan budget, which is why the president is calling a special Senate floor session for Monday. The failure to present the president with a firm bipartisan budget will be further testimony of the absence of responsibility existing within the Senate. I hope that the Republicans
Silence in the chamber, please.
and know that we have a budget to present to the president by Monday. Thank you.
I call a 1 minute recess.
We love you, Joe.
Order in chamber. Senators.
I feel that our party is moving forward in the right direction. The fact that we were able to pass Innocent Lives Matter, and show that the majority of this country really feels strongly about protecting the lives of not only individuals who are fully developed, but those that are also developing. So again, thank you, and I just want my constituents to know that we'll continue to work hard to further conservative values.
Calls for stricter gun control. I don't know if we're all aware, but the state of California has the strictest gun laws, second to New York. I mean, obviously, maybe I think the problem fundamentally was that the gun-free zone signs weren't big enough. So perhaps maybe we should make them in a bigger font so that when terrorists see it, they should say, "Oh, crap, maybe I should just drop my gun and walk away now." Do I illustrate the complete, absolute, ridiculous thoughts that are guiding this legislation on gun control? Do I illustrate the absolute fallacies that the left is operating on when they try and pass legislation like this? It's absolutely ridiculous to think that gun-free zones and gun laws are going to deter criminals. I've said this, countless times on the floor. And, I'm going to keep saying it again because it doesn't seem to resonate with any of you other than, maybe some of my colleagues. So, again, as we explore this budget, this is just merely one facet of many issues we're going to be discussing, and we have discussed. But I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with the aspects, and maybe it does take a shot down, but maybe we can have some sense in you guys' what?
Senators, we'll not continue till this silence in the chamber.
It's convenient for the left to try and take things out of context. So, I'd just like to remark today on, and just illustrate how willing we are to go for our constituents, for the country. We had a very common sense budget. I didn't even agree with a lot of things in the budget to a degree. I didn't think it went far enough. I thought this was a decent compromise. So, you accuse us of being polarized, yet you continue to drift further to the left. I mean, my God, you have a Democratic socialist running for president. Are you? Yeah. So let's think about this. Let's work on making sure common sense legislation is passed today. I think that's what the Republican budget was, but I mean, obviously, should the Democrats have to do that. So, thank you.
I'd like to say that there is a lack of recognition of what the budget actually looks like. Here is total spending. This here
Senators, please take conversation outside.
is discretionary spending. Does everybody know what discretionary spending is?
No.
Okay, I'll clarify.
Please let
So
us know.
discretionary, excuse you, it's my time.
You asked the question.
So discretionary spending is spending we budget for. Now, what is the secret to fiscal success? Anyone? A good budget. You need to know how your money is being spent. But right now, this part here is discretionary spending. This
Senators will not continue until there's silence in the chamber.
is indiscretionary spending. Do we know where this money is going? No. Good, thank you. So we have an understanding over here. We don't know. So by not budgeting for this,
Senators, order in the chamber.
it's going to cause us that we don't really know anything about it. We don't know where they're spending this money. There's no programs for it. It's just patching holes. So, by decreasing discretionary funding, what you're doing is actually increasing indiscretionary funding and increasing the total spending. You understand? So, because you're not allocating the budget properly, you're actually increasing total spending. So, this quote-unquote common sense idea of dropping the discretionary funding is actually increasing funding altogether. If we budget
Senators, order in the chamber.
and increase discretionary funding, we can actually decrease indiscretionary funding because we now know that we're funding programs that actually work instead of pumping money into a hole that does nothing. Now, why do I come up here and talk about this? Because I'm as far right as they come for Democrats. But
Order in the chamber.
I believe we need to increase total funding, not just discretionary funding, because that's purely rhetoric. So, Cruz, you've come up and said you've talked about gun regulation enough in this chamber. I agree, because talk is cheap. So, let's decrease total funding. And that's Budget 101.
Anyone else like to speak?
Order in the chamber, please.
Good afternoon, Senator.
Senators, please take conversations outside.
I'll wait. Good afternoon, Senators. I would like to take a brief moment to express my sentiment of disappointment towards the political actions that were taking place during our Senate floor session on Wednesday. I know I can speak.
Senators, please respect parliamentary procedure.
I know I can speak on behalf of my fellow Democrats to say that we were
Senators, we will not continue until there's silence in the chamber.
to say that we were highly disrespected by those on the other side of the aisle, and the one that usually sits next to Senator Kirk. From changing the agenda at the last minute, Senator Isaacson, to passing legislation that may not be truly representative of all American people, it was evident that conducting productive Senate business meant excluding the Democratic voice. This type of behavior is extremely unacceptable and very childlike.
Please respect parliamentary procedure, Senators.
We do not have time to play games like children due to a possible government shutdown. If it is not obvious, please let me remind you all, specifically my fellow Republican colleagues, of something very important. The Senate floor is not a playground, and our sessions are not free time to just play around and be unproductive.
Senators, please take conversations outside of the chamber.
Therefore, Senator Paul and others, if you miss the idea of having recess in your lives, then please retire from the Senate and go back to elementary school. The Senate floor is not a place for excessive recesses or stalling business. Yet, if you want to play, at least play fair and equitable. We need to conduct
business on behalf of our American people. It is time for us to make sure our responsibilities to serve our constituents are being fulfilled. It is time for us to make sure Democrats are equally respected on the same level as Republicans in this Senate. Lastly, it is time for us to make appropriate and reasonable, once again I say reasonable, decisions to prevent a government shutdown. Once again, I hope that this session can be productive, unlike the one that occurred on Wednesday. Thank you so much, and P.S. also reads the sincere letter to the Republicans, my colleagues, in the paper. We greatly appreciate it. We need that advice.
Good morning, everyone. Today I would like to talk about the future of conservative values in America. Republicans, we are setting ourselves on a path of self-destruction if we don't halt our views on immigration. Now, Senator Cruz decided that the party needs to embrace conservatism in order to turn out millions of evangelical voters who argues have stay-at-home moderates are running as the GOP nominees. I say it's not about turning out more people, it's about winning more people over to our cause. It's about repairing the damage done by incredibly hateful rhetoric, especially for our Hispanics. We have to stop turning our backs on Hispanic American Party. If you're going to win an election with that kind of garbage, it needs to stop. Almost anybody can beat Clinton. She banned our troops from Benghazi. She's not prepared to get commander in chief, but we cannot win without comprehensive immigration prospects and having a sensible position on social issues. We don't have these positions, we're going to get clean. It's not about social issues. If we lose this election, it's the position we take regarding the social issues that disconnect us from the world at large.
First and foremost, I want the party of buffoons sitting to my left to take every word in this speech with a grain of salt. Including Senator Cruz. Wednesday's Senate floor meeting was a complete circus, with the ringleaders being none other than Senator Addison and Senator Paul. Although I don't have time to discuss every one of you, the Republican senators, I do have time to highlight three. All right, for those three, I choose Senator Paul, Senator Addison, and none other than Senator Collins.
I'd like to remind the speaker to please direct comments towards the president and not to individuals.
All right. Senator, do you know that it's clearly stated in parliamentary procedure that the presiding officer of the Senate may not use the power to recognize senators to control the flow of business, and no senator holds the floor. Any senator seeking recognition has the right to be recognized and then usually to speak for as long as he or she wishes. So, the idiotic move people by only recognizing Republican senators is wrong. It also states that, generally, no debatable question can come to a vote if senators still wish to speak. Now, on to our majority leader. Do you know that the Senate Court is majority leader's prime responsibility for scheduling? He may carry out this responsibility by moving that the Senate proceed to consider a particular matter. For President, he and the minority leader are recognized and by custom only makes motions or requests affecting when the Senate will meet and what it will consider for executive business. This motion to proceed may be offered in a non-debatable form, or for legislative business, it usually is debatable. Okay, I know you're asking why am I reading this? I'm doing this because they clearly do not know parliamentary procedures, so I'm trying to help them out.
Senators, please take conversations outside.
I'm sure that both.
Can you respect the president?
Vice President? Vice President.
Order in the gallery, please. Order in the gallery, please.
I'm sure that both their actions Wednesday made our founding fathers roll over their graves. Now, when it comes to the senator, I often vote in our district in the Senator Collins.
Order in the gallery, please.
In the past, we have worked together very well, but you blowing up on me in the Judiciary Committee and yelling at one of the media members really disappointed me. Like the famous philosopher Drake said to Tiger. How about you act your age and not your girl's age? Well, Senator Collins, how about you act your age and not your granddaughter's age by having a temporary tantrum every time something does not go your way?
Go have a nice day.
So feel free to come in, obviously more than welcome, so I just wanted to get that out of the way. Now, in terms of, since I guess it seems to be more of a debate session rather than us being actually have credentials, I'd like to address the Democratic Party, or I should President of the Senate.
Thank you.
So I would like to say, when it comes to speaking on some of the decisions that I have made, or the actions that some people may have viewed as inappropriate, it was merely out of frustration with my colleagues across the aisle. That being that, you know, we always talk about in the Judiciary Committee about how we're always comparing things to that don't seem relevant, such as people to pigs. But I would like to compare.
Order in the chamber, please.
How about we talk about children and what we know that children have been known to do, and that is when they lack responsibility, when they need to be present, but they refuse to not come to committees when they're supposed to, or they throw temper tantrums. That's like another characteristic of children, and then expect to have all that pressure be weighed upon one person. Another thing that children seem to do when they don't seem to get their way is to try to find ways to convince their parents, the adults in the room, as we all know, to try to hear their attention when we all know that the adults know the correct decision for our children, because our children don't seem to have the knowledge of the punitive actions that actually occur. So I just want to say, as everyone knows that I am a pretty moderate person, and I have been I've been extremely moderate, actually, when it comes to coming unprepared to our budget committee meetings, only submitting over a budget that's full of graphs, as well as when we come to different compromises, having everything that we do be uprooted and everything. So I just want to say, like how I said, when I first came onto the floor, when I first took my oath, and that's that I'm willing, wanting, and expecting to do what is right for the American people, their values, and their virtues. However, when you leave me with no decisions, however, when I have been left with incorrect fallacies as well as a bunch of fluff, and everything just seems to be a big clusterfuck. Excuse my French. No, I said when everything's inappropriate, I have no other actions than to take the advice of everyone else. Another thing, excuse me for being taken out of context, but another thing that I witnessed on Wednesday, since everything seems to be unprecedented, was the disrespect, the use of expletives towards senators directly. In my years as being a senator, I've never experienced that, and I think that especially coming from Senator Schumer, that coming from our minority leader, that apologies definitely due. I've worked extremely hard to be a senator from the state of Maine, and to be called out of my name is something that was unconscionable, and I think that that's something that I deserve. So I yield my time to Senator Isaacson. Do you have a question?
Oh, no, I'm good, thanks. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I actually didn't have anything but if you want to talk.
Point of order, the 3-minute timer.
Yeah, I'm leaving. Yeah.
Order in the chamber.
So I want to talk about today, very briefly, the fact that the Republican Party has once again demonstrated the fact that despite being the party of conservative values and making America great again,
They seem to not care
Senators, don't
about,
make me ask again. Please take conversation.
they seem to not care about the traditions that guide the United States Senate, which seems odd for a party always talking about tradition in the past. The fact that ending the filibuster was a dramatic move, it seems like a very odd move to make in this setting, considering the fact that we had made good compromise in the budget committee, it seems. But apparently it wasn't enough for them. I also want to talk about the fact that alongside the fact that they don't respect tradition, they also apparently don't respect the United States Constitution. So as we know, on Wednesday's floor session, the Republican Party attempted to do two things which were unconstitutional. The first of which was repealing the Weekend Voting Act. They did not provide any legislation for which the repeal was based on, and therefore the vote had no authority to begin with. It was nothing at all. They just did it for show, apparently. And so the Weekend Voting Act,
Senators, please take conversations outside of the chamber.
The Weekend Voting Act, I can proudly say, is still in effect today. On top of this, the Republican Party also voted to overturn the president's veto on the
Senators, please respect parliamentary procedures.
The party voted to overturn the president's veto on the Jerusalem Embassy Act. It seems that they seem to forget that in Article 1, Section 7 of the United States Constitution, it says that it is required that two-thirds body be present for the vote, and that the vote be taken by yeas and nays, with the votes of each senator being recorded. And considering the fact that the Republican Party did not take these procedures seriously and did not respect the United States Constitution, the veto on the Jerusalem Embassy Act still stands today.
I'm going to read a section from it. It pertains to productivity. And I quote myself. Most importantly, as many of you are or may not be aware of, senators are public servants.
Order the chamber, please.
In other terms, we are here to serve our constituents, the citizens of the United States. This important aspect highlights the need for bipartisanship and fair ethics in our Senate. Passing legislation that does not fully represent the attitudes, beliefs, and ideologies of our whole nation is not doing a great service to our constituents. This is exactly what occurred on the Senate floor on Wednesday with the passing of Senate Bill 89, along with other legislation on the Republican agenda.
Senators, please take conversations outside of the chamber.
Actions as such may result in a government shutdown, which will not be appreciated by the American people. I thought this lesson was learned in October 2013. The government shutdown affected many American people in ways that were unimaginable. As senators, we are entrusted to look out for the best interests of our constituents. Personally, I do not believe that we are doing a very good job at maintaining the trust given to us by our constituents. Therefore, if this is the definition of being productive or productivity that the majority leader constantly refers to, then we may need to reconsider productivity in order to prevent a government shutdown. It is in the best interest of our American people.
Senators, please take conversations outside of the chamber. Senators, please have respect for parliamentary procedure. Order in the chamber.
Hi, everybody. I hope I can read my handwriting. Let's hope for the best. I'd like to first address something that Senator Collins said about pigs and fetuses, which I just would like to kind of bring it up for a hot sec. So I'd like to say what actually transpired, which on my part, pretty good comparison if I do say so myself. Senator Paul, with your beautiful Innocent Lives Matter bill, came up to us and said that he was surprised that the Catholic and Christians of the Democratic Party would oppose this bill. What I responded to that was, first of all, I'm Jewish. Also, Hanukkah's on Sunday, so happy Hanukkah. However, I would like to say that I think it's quite disrespectful, A, that you would assume all of our religions and our, and what we think I'm not done yet, Senator Paul, thank you very much. Also, oh, sorry, I will, sorry about that, really, my apologies. But then afterwards,
Order in the chamber, please.
Afterwards, I then compared that, unlike people like Senator Paul, I like to take my religious views and not impose them on other people. So as someone who doesn't eat bacon, I wouldn't do that to you because I've heard it's really good. And I wouldn't want to take away your guilty. Second of all, I would like to address the San Bernardino shooting. Just briefly, would like to mention that Unfortunately, as much as I wish this were the case, your thoughts and prayers aren't doing anything and aren't changing the fact that more than once a day, there is a mass shooting in America.
There's peace and conversation outside the chamber.
The only thing that will change that is legislation. Sorry, Senator Cruz.
Senators, please take conversation outside the chamber.
Finally, and again, I apologize for my sassy tone, but you know, times are tough. Finally, I would like to address Congress's defunding of Planned Parenthood. This is an atrocity. I would also like to say that regarding the fact that most of the people voting to defund Planned Parenthood are people who would never have to use their services to begin with, which is pretty crazy. So yet we take away this right and these privileges for women to have this healthcare, this reproductive healthcare, and this support system from 50% of our population, in which most of the people voting against this would never even understand or need to use. So I would like to just, again, showcase my disappointment with these actions. I'll leave Wednesday's floor session because I think everybody else covered that pretty well. But yeah, happy Hanukkah.
You didn't even vote for this.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a few more points. I know I've been mentioned a few times.
Go for it, buddy.
So I just want to first clarify one thing that you said.
Please address the president.
Please have order.
No.
Order.
Okay. So I don't think it's ever appropriate to assume that pigs and people have the same rights, which was the discussion at the committee.
Don't think that's what
The discussion was about whether or
Now
not
he wants order.
pigs' rights were equivalent to human rights and people's rights and American citizens' rights, and I thought it was an absurd point to make during the discussion of Innocent Lives Matter, which passed, by the way. And I really want to thank. I understand that the president probably will, if he has not already, veto this bill. But I would also just note that our opinion still matters, and although the president invoked his right to veto this bill, that we still need to represent what our constituents want, and that's what we did. Furthermore, if you guys decide
Please address the president.
if this body does not decide to pass the resolution with the budget amended onto it, then I will have
Please take
no
conversation
choice
outside.
but to filibuster any other proposition that you guys would make, because the spending is just way too much. As Senator Bennett clearly pointed out, we are spending way too much money. So we definitely do need to spend less money.
Senator Paul, you killed the filibuster on Wednesday, so.
The filibuster can, if you guys, you're saying that you're gonna
Conversations outside.
Let him have order.
Can I please have order, please?
Point of order, you can't filibuster a budget.
Let's go.
You actually definitely can.
Yeah, that's like what the last filibusters have been about.
Order in the chamber, please.
It was about Homeland Security, and then it was about Planned Parenthood.
The resolution with the budget amended onto it. then,
Other stupid shit.
We will have no choice but to try to get to another agreement. But let's just be clear. I will filibuster whatever you guys try to bring to the table,
Please
because you
address the
guys
president.
will not, the president and this floor will not make the proper cuts necessary. So again, I warn that we should not reject this resolution unless you guys are prepared.
Please
and the
address
floor
the
is
president.
prepared.
Please address the president.
You have to address the president.
Can I please have order?
There seems to be order.
Can I please have order?
There seems to be order.
If you veto this bill,
Please address the president. Order in the chamber.
1:30, nothing.
We'll not continue for the silence in the chamber.
yeah, so if we as a body do not approve this bill, keep in mind, you guys are,
Please address the president.
our body is possibly taking away funding for veterans, people on Medicaid, our grandparents on Medicare, and I really hope that we as the Senate do the right thing and not put the well-being of millions of Americans at risk over political banter, which is not going to pass.
3 minutes.
Thank you.
I'd just like to address the issue of Republican productivity and remind everybody that we actually have a majority here. So the American people actually voted for the Republicans, which means that they are aligned with our beliefs.
Not just you guys.
The bills that we pass, that the president actually vetoes,
This is a better
just
soundtrack.
defiance against the will of the American people. So until the Democrats have a majority, I don't think that they can tell us that we're not being productive and representing our constituents.
It's not just your constituents, though.
The Democratic Party has repeatedly said that chalk is cheap, yet that is all that has happened today. If there's a point to the games that they are playing today, I would recommend that they make it.
It's 1:32, so I just wanted to say briefly, if the budget didn't get passed and the government gets shut down, then we're also putting the shutting down of food stamps in jeopardy. That's 45 million Americans. In my home state of Oregon, that's 1 in 5 people, or 800,000 people. Who are relying on
Senator Paul, please take conversation outside.
This could affect a lot of children as well. It would face the prospect of going hungry. We should not take issues like this lightly and work to pass a budget that is responsible for those who need that realistically depend on us not as Americans. Let's do our jobs and work together to pass a budget that compromises on our ideas.
I would just like to say that we are gathered here today as a body to make educated decisions for the American people, and today I'm embarrassed to be called a senator, considering the way that everybody's been participating in this session. Also, on a side note, I'd like to point out that a senator here today falsely claimed that the Weekend Voting Act was not discussed in official correspondence from the Secretary of the Senate to the President. The Secretary said that the Weekend Voting Act had been repealed, so I'm not sure who is mistaken here, the Secretary of the Senate or the Republican senator.
I go by the minutes, I was actually there.
Who? You weren't called out, but if you
Order. Order in the chamber.
You need to call yourself out. myself.
I believe we've had a lot of opinions for today, and a recommendation to both the chair and the majority leader that we adjourn the session until we can have a meeting to discuss a budget that we can present to the president on Monday. I look forward to a meeting as productive as the one on Monday, where if the Republicans have concerns with negotiations that are happening, they bring them to us in a moment instead of at a time.
Sergeant Arms, please escort Senator Paul out of the floor.
I didn't even know we had a sergeant at arms.
She's Sergeant of Arms. What are you talking about?
Burn.